to On the Bench, where we give you the perspective of the well-informed sports fan. I'm Sean Dustin, one of our analysts, but I'm joined by two outstanding, top-rate, A-grade analysts that you've been hearing from each and every week, and that's the esteemed Kevin Cornegay and Javon Tavares. How y'all doing today, fellas?
Doing well.
Man.
Doing well.
How was your week? How was your week?
Had a quick little peanut butter and jelly sandwich for an energy boost. I'm ready to go.
Man.
You can't go wrong with a PB&J. Now, I need to know, are you a crunchy or a creamy peanut butter guy?
I'm going to say creamy.
Okay. Now, are we a grape jelly? Are we peach? Are we strawberry?
Strawberry jelly. Just have some strawberry jelly. So
can't go wrong.
Yes,
can't go
wrong at all.
Okay, fellas. Now, sports world. If you missed our last episode, we had an outstanding episode that we featured James Harden's monumental collapse in Game 6, losing in the Western Conference semis. We talked about the Celtics championship reunion and some bad blood, some resentment, maybe some bitterness on behalf of some former players towards one of the championship players, Ray Allen. And Julio Cesar Chavez ended up with a spot, not on the bench. He wasn't worthy of that. He ended up on the stool, okay, from a hapless inept performance against Saul Canelo Alvarez. So, this week we have another great show in store for you. Our first topic that we're going to cover is some NBA regular season hardware. As you know, there's a show coming up next Saturday with Drake hosting the first annual show that's going to cover giving out some of that hardware that was earned during the regular season. So I want to cover all of the different hardware that's going to be given out and see where you guys feel each of these finalists are ultimately going to end up in the pecking order. We're going to start off with the most improved player in the league. Now, there's a lot of guys that have really made some strides this year in comparison to their previous years. The individuals that are highlighted this year are Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, this guy, player in league history to lead his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. Other guys that have done it, notably LeBron James, Scottie Pippen, Kevin Garnett, and Dave Cowens. He's put himself in great company. Also, this guy has improved in points, rebounds, assists, steals, for consecutive years now. Next, we have Denver's Nikola Jokic, a center for Denver. Okay, this guy averaged nearly 17 points a game, 9.8 rebounds, and 4.9 assists at the center position, shooting 57.8% field goal, and to boot, he had 6 triple-doubles at the center position. Last but not least, we have a guy that we're going to talk about a little bit later in another category, Rudy Gobert. Okay, this guy went from 9.1 points the previous year all the way up to 14 points a game and 12.8 rebounds. The guy's got 14 and 13 essentially and contests 14.2 shots a game. I'm going to start off with you, Javon. I want to know, out of these three, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, and Rudy Gobert, who do you see that has made the most considerable strides in their game from the previous year?
This one's easy. The Greek freak.
Okay.
This one's easy. With all due respect to Gobert and Jokic, who I actually like. I really like Jokic. I like Gobert. I like his length. I like his ability to contest shots at the rim. He's a pretty good rebounder. He's a monster on the boards, the offensive boards. But this one's not even close. The Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, is the most improved player. When he got the name, the Greek freak, I thought it a tad bit mature premature at first. A name like that, that's a heavy name. The Greek freak. he was going to be tabbed as someone that could be have the same type of length as Kevin Durant and have that same type of impact. And I got to be honest, I didn't necessarily see that when he first came into the league, but towards the end of last year, I actually had a chance to watch a couple of Milwaukee Bucks games. Go figure, those are kind of difficult to find unless it's NBA TV or on the what's the package, the NBA package. So, but when I actually did see a couple games and I saw the overwhelming length and the athleticism, I figured it'd only be a matter of time before he really stepped into a higher quality role in terms of being a productive leader, a productive basketball player. And you can see the raw talent was there. Mm-hmm. I think this year he's improved his outside shot a little bit. Still not probably where he will be in terms of three-point shooting. However, he is showing the potential. But I literally saw this guy take, I kid you not, 3 steps. It might have been 3 or 4 steps from half court, from inside of half court. So he had gotten a steal, got in transition, got his hand in the passing lane, explodes past half court, and I kid you not, it had to be like 3 steps. Yeah. Which is absolutely ridiculous. So when you have that type of length, you have that type of athleticism, and now he's learning the other nuances of the NBA game. He's learning how to score in half-court sets. His mid-range game is improving. He passes the ball fairly well, and he's a good rebounder. To me, it's a no-brainer. I like the Greek Freak. Again, I thought it was a little bit premature for him to have a nickname like that. But when you actually watch him, what other adjective can you use to describe? Other than he is a freak on the basketball court. So I think he's the runaway winner here. But I do have appreciation for the other 2 nominees.
Okay, yeah, I think the Greek Freak is a very fitting name for him in terms of his athletic ability, his explosion.
I'm always hesitant when calling another man a freak, too, by the way. So I got to admit, I was a little predisposed to, the way I was thinking. So I didn't necessarily want to be calling the Greek Freak. Oh, hey! I can't wait to get home to watch the Greek Freak. Hey girls, we're gonna watch the Greek Freak. So I had to get over my own problems.
No, I definitely understand how you could have reservations with the moniker for sure. They obviously in addition to being a great young talent and making some tremendous strides, they obviously have a great nucleus of young talent there, and a great young head coach in Jason Kidd to really show and teach the ability to teach the nuances of the game. Now, Kevin, I'm going to ask you the same question. You have Rudy Gobert, who made some significant strides. You have Nikola Jokic that made some significant strides, both on young upstart teams that have bright futures. And then you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. What say you, Mr. Cornegay?
I love Rudy Gobert. Love his ability to man that paint. Offensive rebounding machine. Rebounding machine, in general. Needs to refine his offensive game a little bit. But defensively, good Lord. This guy is something else. He's a load. I love Jokic. I love his game as well. Those are the 2 upcoming rising centers that we have in this league. You will be hearing a lot from them as long as they can stay healthy. The easy choice, though, is the Greek Freak. Giannis, and there's 2 teams that will, as LeBron continue, if he ever enters the back 9 of his career. I mean, he's 14 years in, and he's still ascending. But at whatever point that comes where LeBron is starting to descend, I think there's 2 teams in the East that I look towards who will push Cleveland. We talked about the Washington Wizards as John Wall and Bradley Beal continue to play together. You got to get Otto Porter going a little bit more. Morris, I like their starting lineup. They just got to add a bench. The second team to keep your eye on are the Milwaukee Bucks, and the main reason is because of the Greek Freak. Now, I know they got swept by Cleveland this year in the regular season 3-0, but those games were very close in the fourth quarter. And the first 2 games, Giannis, I think he was at 29 and 15.
Yeah.
29 points, 15 rebounds.
Time.
Really going toe to toe with LeBron. LeBron obviously was able to put the hammer down in the fourth quarter. But you're talking about a young man that's going to continue to get better. And another thing, I love that he's under the tutelage of a Jason Kidd. Because Jason Kidd is one of the best point guards we've ever seen. And he's able to teach Giannis, give him a perspective from a point guard's point of view. And Giannis is special. So he's coming. He's going to challenge. I love what he was able to do in the series this year against Toronto, winning game 1, really pushing those guys to 6 games. And Toronto got pushed. Now, we thought that Toronto would be able to move on, but they got pushed. It was great experience for the Bucks, and they're going to keep moving forward. If they can ever keep Parker healthy, they can have something special there, in Wisconsin. Hopefully the people out in Milwaukee will support this team. They got a group of some really good young men out there. I know it's a football state, football town, with the Packers and everything. But these Milwaukee Bucks, man, you have a superstar in the Greek Freak, and he's going to be around for 13, 14 years because his skill level is high. So that's easily going to Giannis. And just look forward to watching this guy. Like Javon was saying, it's hard to catch a Milwaukee Bucks game. But ladies and gentlemen, if you do what I did over this year and grab yourself a box, whether it's the Amazon Fire or whatever the case may be, grab yourself a box and start streaming this stuff, okay, and cut that cord. Yes, I'm talking to you, cable providers. It's time to start cutting that cord. You guys charge $200 a month, okay, for cable after my promotion is over.
Kevin, I think this is going to have to be a topic that we really broach moving forward because, although you're speaking directly to cable companies, we've obviously seen a significant amount of layoffs with Sports Illustrated, with ESPN staff. The way that the viewer and the consumer is getting to their sports fix is not the same as the traditional norms. And so we're really going to have to talk about that soon because people are getting laid off. These packages are becoming more accessible through other avenues. And you get to see, teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, where this may be the most excited, we've been about the Bucks since the Ray Allen, Glenn Robinson, Sam Cassell, and even, before then with, Don Nelson and, being over with Alvin Robertson and Terry Cummings and Jack Sikma and some great players. They've had some great basketball over the years in Milwaukee. Let's not forget about that.
Remember Kareem won a championship.
Kareem and Oscar Robinson.
Right, so, for the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm gonna join you two's expert opinion and say that I feel that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the runaway winner in this aspect, in this category as well. I'm also going to say, to Javon's point, I have not seen a player cover as much ground with the gate of with gate. Maybe Kevin Durant. It's the only other player that I've seen where can take legitimately 2-3 steps after he crosses half court and he's literally at the rim because of his length. And there's not a lot of more explosive players than Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're all going to be watching his career very closely, and as he ascends to eventual superstardom at this rate. Next category we have is near and dear to our show because our show is called Off the Bench, and it's the Sixth Man of the Year award, with guys coming literally off the bench. Now we have 3 great competitors in this category, some mainstays if you follow NBA basketball. And those 3 mainstays and the individuals in this category this year are Andre Iguodala, who, although he's only had 7.6 points off the bench, he has a 14.4 efficiency rating for those of you that are into the more advanced statistical categories in following the NBA. And he's on the NBA's best team with 67 wins in the Golden State Warriors. It's hard to undervalue what obviously Andre Iguodala, the Finals MVP, brings to a team. So also we have two players coming from the Houston Rockets, which is a little bit weird to me because there could only be one sixth man per team, but probably because of the midseason trade, things of that nature, and someone being a sixth man on another team, we have Sweet Lou Williams, who's averaged a career high, 17.6 points. Amazing that you average a career high off the bench. And then last but not least, we have Eric Gordon, who was fourth best in three-pointers off the bench this year. He had the most points off the bench in our modern three-point era. Obviously, the Rockets being a team that this year made history with the most three-pointers by a team. He was a big part of that. He averaged 16.3 a game, which was second in the league off the bench, only to his teammate, Lou Williams. Kev, I'm going to start this one with you. We're off the bench. These guys are off the bench. You got Iggy, Sweet Lou, and Eric Gordon. Who do you think takes home the hardware for Sixth Man of the Year this year?
I like Eric Gordon. Let me first say, though, Andre Iguodala, obviously playing on the best team in the world right now, the Golden State Warriors. He's your classic Swiss Army knife. He can do it all. And he does it in a way where he sits and he watches the basketball game, figures out exactly what the team needs, and then he goes in and provides it. He can shoot the three. He can still get to the basket when his legs are underneath him. He can still defend. He's still one of the most athletic wing forwards that we've seen, that we have in the game today. So he's a very, very close second. I'm going to go with Eric Gordon. I feel like this is a renaissance year for him. He was able to stay healthy this year. I don't have the exact number of games that he played, but remember, Eric Gordon, coming out of the University of Indiana, was a draft lottery pick. Mm-hmm. He just couldn't stay healthy once he got to the league. He was a one-and-done guy. So getting drafted by the Clippers, he was easily a guy that we figured was going to be around 20 to 25 points a game. He was going to play 13 to 14 years. He just wasn't able to stay healthy. I like the role that he has in Houston. Provides tremendous punch off the bench. He's had some 30-point games. Obviously, being in Mike D'Antoni's system has really opened up his game. I think Aaron Gordon is a better playmaker than he's given credit for. I know a lot of people just look and see the scoring ability, but he can make plays. He can make plays. As long as he's in that system, he'll be able to play a role that was similar to James Harden. So I'm going with Eric Gordon. Sweet Lou, he's always there, isn't he? I mean, he's always in the top three when we talk about Sixth Man of the Year. And Andre Iguodala, obviously, is going to be a close second for me. But I'm going to stick with Eric Gordon. He had a tremendous bounce-back year. And as long as he can stay healthy, man, I see a bright future ahead of him. So I'm going with Eric Gordon.
Okay, great analysis as always. Harden finally looks like he has a secondary scorer to alleviate some of the pressure off his whole 10 points in conference semifinals.
Oh my goodness, man!
So great analysis, Javon. I need to know, you have Iggy, you have Sweet Lou, you have Eric Gordon, all guys that can come off the bench and instantly change the complexion of a game. Who do you think really stands out amongst these three qualified candidates?
So let me first say that I found myself having to temper some of my responses for regular season awards after watching collapses during the postseason.
Yeah. Oh, don't hurt him. Don't hurt him.
If I was going based on postseason production, I would give it to Iguodala, even though he's, has been banged up a little bit. Eric Gordon and Lou Williams they absolutely didn't show up that last series that they had against the Spurs. They absolutely did not show up. So, again, the impetus for these awards is regular season production. So with that said, I digress, and I would say Lou Williams is deserving of the award. to all of the points that Kev pointed out earlier, Eric Gordon is a very talented player coming out of Indiana. He definitely was a one-and-done player. He had a big-time impact that one season that he played for Indiana. You like a guard that's about 6'4", it's about 230, solidly built.
Right.
Very, very pure stroke from behind the arc. But he also has the strength to get into the lane and finish at the rim. And as Kev mentioned, he's also a better playmaker than what people give him credit for, which is why I was a little surprised with the way he tailed off in the last series. But with all that said, I think Lou Williams, 17.6, coming off the bench. I think he's been in contention before for the award, hasn't necessarily won it. But I think this year, even with his impact when he was on the Lakers, and I know that's difficult for a lot of us to really evaluate because the Lakers weren't a very good basketball club.
Right.
And that's just putting it mildly. They were terrible. But I did notice the impact that he would have on some of those games. He would come in, he would be that fire starter off the bench. He's a guy that can score a variety of ways. He can give you the three-point shot. He can give you the teardrops. He can finish at the rim. But he's also one of the best players that I've seen in the league that can actually fade to the side or fade to the right. He doesn't have to have his feet set when he shoots that pull-up. And so, I think Lou Williams, great season. When he came over to the Rockets, I thought that would be a godsend for them because you had another guy that could be a dynamic player with the ball in his hands, but it didn't necessarily translate well, again, in the playoffs. But, hey, when has Lou Williams really, other than with the Raptors, when has he really had any significant playoff experience? So I'll give him a pass, and, I'll say that Lou Williams is deserving of the Sixth Man of the Year award. He had a great season.
Well, that was very sweet of you to give it to Sweet Lou.
I do what I can do,
Yeah. I think you make some great points in favoring Sweet Lou Williams as Sixth Man of the Year. Obviously, this guy is instant offense. I agree with you that I've not seen a player with the ability to shoot off balance, fading left or right, probably since Vernon Maxwell, where he'd catch it and just be fading, and it really was better. He was able to get that thing up,
right,
and judge the trajectory, even though he was in motion. It was crazy to see. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Eric Gordon. This year, I agree with Kevin in terms of Iggy being a Swiss Army knife, great defender, great perimeter defender, great on-ball defender, great team defender. Starts on most of the NBA clubs in this league. He's been a star player and an all-star. Hits quality clutch shots when his team needs it. He's able to come in when Clay may not be playing as well and really give them a boost off the bench. And he's really a huge factor in their success. Lou Williams, it's hard to say Lou Williams in contention with anything after playing in Philly and L.A., it's really difficult to say Lou Williams in contention for anything, to be honest with you. But I really do like his game offensively. He's able to break you off the dribble. He can shoot off the dribble. He can get all the way to the basket. And he can make passes off of the drive accurately. Eric Gordon, the reason I'm taking him is that in addition to obviously being what James Harden needed as far as taking some of that offensive load off of him, I think he's a better defender than he gets credit for. He's strong. He gets in the stance. He makes things tough. He'll jump a passing lane. He's a little undersized compared to some of the shooting guards. But I'll be honest, the way where he releases his shot, I thought it would maybe a hindrance when he got to the league, because of the size of shooting guards and the athleticism.
Yeah. Right.
But he really does a great job of getting his shot off.
That's quick.
And very quick and very accurate. And he hits some big shots. Maybe not clutch shots per se, but, you're down, your team's down one, hits a three, puts you up two. Your team's up one, team's coming back, gets within one, he puts you up four, gets a 4-point play. And so his impact on the game, just from an eye view, I'm going to go out of these three for this particular year, Eric Gordon. Moving on, it's been a lot of good defense played so far by only a couple of teams in this NBA playoffs. Again, I agree with Javon that it's hard to differentiate after watching the playoffs that these are just regular season awards and not letting things that have happened in the postseason influence that decision. We have some great Defensive Player of the Year candidates in our next category. We have Draymond Green, who's probably going to perennially be in this category in the top 3 for the next several years, just the way that he's able to really focus on the defensive end with the kind of players they have. He led the league in steals this year, which is at 2.03 steals a game. It's his career high, and it's good for the league lead. I'll tell you what, I saw this guy make a couple of defensive plays in these playoffs, and again, it's still a regular season award, where he's facing the 2-on-1. He attacks the person with the ball, makes them give it up, gets back to the other guy they give the ball to, and block a shot. Pretty impressive stuff. He's second. He was second in the league in deflections this year, and opponents only shot 44% at the rim against this guy. Only Gobert and Aldridge had a better percentage in that aspect. Then we have the 2-time reigning year, Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. Okay, 1.8 steals, right behind Draymond Green. Averages over 3 deflections a game. This guy only allowed 40 isolation points all year on 43 isolation plays. Okay, we all know what Kawhi brings to the table. The ball's never safe in your hands around this guy. And then we have a guy who's up for Most Improved Player as well, who Kevin is fond of, Mr. Rudy Gobert. This guy led the league. Now, again, we're here to inform you, if you're not familiar with some of the advanced stats, defensive win share. Okay, this is an estimate of the number of wins produced by a player based on their defensive ability. How many teams that they felt, how many games they felt were attributed to these players' defensive prowess. And Rudy Gobert led the league in defensive win shares. He led the league in blocks at 2.6 a game and allowed the lowest percentage of field goals at the rim. 3 very qualified candidates. I'm going to start with you, Kevin, here. I need to know, out of Draymond on the 67-win Golden State Warriors, Kawhi on the 60-win San Antonio Spurs, and Rudy Gobert on a young upstart team with great rim protection, who do you take for Defensive Player of the Year this year?
Draymond Green. Andrew Bogut obviously was let go when they signed Kevin Durant. Harrison Barnes let go. Harrison Barnes was terrific defensively. Harrison Barnes is better than Kevin Durant defensively. Even though this year Kevin Durant increased his wait a minute. When Kevin Durant was with OKC, would you have considered him a great defender on the perimeter?
Probably not.
No.
Marginal.
No. Yes.
I think in the playoffs he had he ratcheted his level of defense up. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he was a better on the ball defender than Harrison Barnes. But I think because of his length and because they had different roles. I mean, Kevin couldn't really afford to play, and that's what makes Kawhi so amazing. Right. That he can actually do it on both ends. So, but I get your point. I see what you're saying. Right.
So, the way I looked at it was Draymond and Klay Thompson as the defensive mainstays for that 73-win Warriors team. They come back this year, they win 67. But one of the reasons that they win 67, even when Kevin Durant goes out of the lineup, is Draymond Green's ability on the defensive end of the floor without stats. Yes, he has the stats. Believe he leads the team, or is he second in blocks? I think he's second in Kevin.
Gobert led the league in blocks.
Yeah, I mean, leads in blocks for the Warriors. Is that Kevin Durant or Draymond?
I believe it's Draymond. He had I think 1.5, 1.6.
Okay, so 6'7" leading his team in block shots. He completely can control the defensive side of the court for the Warriors. Now, you have Draymond and you have Klay Thompson as your premier defenders for the Warriors. You would not say ZaZa is a premier defender. Kevin Durant improved this year defensively. I give him a ton of credit for that. I think the environment helped him improve, though. Steph is not a premier defender. Andre Iguodala is a premier defender. David West is not a premier defender. McGee off the bench is not a premier defender. They've got three premier defenders. When Andre Iguodala has his legs right, then he's really special. But as we know, his legs come and go. But Draymond Green, the catalyst, the point man behind what they do defensively. He covers up everything. He covers up pick and rolls. He can defend in the post. He can block shots. He's rebounding the basketball. His IQ is tremendous. He knows exactly what you're going to do. We've seen on many occasions him shouting down at Kevin Durant because he missed a defensive assignment, or shouting down at Steph Curry because he missed a defensive assignment. He knows where everybody is supposed to be. And for the last 2 years, let's be honest, we could have given it to Draymond Green. Kawhi won it, but we could have given it to Draymond Green. I'm going to give him the edge this year. They won 73 last year. They won 67 again this year. It's time to give him the award, especially in a year where you could essentially give it to either one of these candidates and be okay with it. I mean, there's not much of an argument. If you want to say, no, I'm going to give it to Kawhi, I just raise my hands and say, okay. I mean, that's solid. If you want to say, hey, I'm going to give it to Gobert, okay. That's solid. It's just whatever your preference is. I'm gonna say the tiebreaker is the 67 wins and Draymond's ability to completely control every single aspect of the defensive end for the Golden State Warriors. With the team, we can say the same thing about Kawhi because he does the same thing for the Spurs. They don't have a lot of primary great defensive players other than himself. But in particular, I'm going to go with Draymond Green and the 67-win Warriors as Defensive Player of the Year.
You make some very compelling case, a very compelling case for Draymond Green on the best team in the league, the league leader in steals, the emotional leader on a team full of alpha males. You make a very compelling case. Now, Javon, I need to ask you the same question. We have Rudy Gobert, who is also one of the most improved players in the league and the best at rim protection. We have Kawhi, who very possibly is the best on-ball defender in the game. And we have Draymond Green, who is the emotional linchpin for the league's best team statistically, defensively, possibly the best defender on the best defensive team. How do you weigh in on Defensive Player of the Year for the 2016-2017 season?
I think these awards are so subjective. When you have three defenders that are that caliber, Rudy Gobert, I mean, his ascension and his improvement has been tremendous. One of the reasons why, and Utah was an underrated defensive team. And one of the reasons why they had the amount of success that they had, rising to get that number 4 seed, was because of Rudy Gobert's defensive ability and his ability on the offensive board. So I don't want to marginalize that. I don't want to minimize that. Kawhi Leonard, what more can you say about the guy? I mean, he's phenomenal offensively. It's been a wonder and a joy to see his game develop offensively, but defensively, he came into the league out of San Diego State as a guy that was tailor-made to defend. He's got, long arms, big hands. He's 6'8", and he's got great quickness. Well, I don't want to say great quickness, but he's got really good quickness for someone that's that size. So he can guard wings, he can guard guards, and we haven't really seen him in the post too much, but he's got a lot of versatility defensively. But I'm going to have to agree with Kev here. Draymond Green, he's more than just a defender. He's the quarterback of that defense. Very hard to quantify the type of impact that a quarterback defensively has. So it's more than just his own responsibility. So as we take a look at his personal ability to defend his guy, we know he can guard all 5 positions. Just watching, as you mentioned, in these playoffs, there's been several instances where he's been one place and then he's rotated back to come up with a block.
Right.
And it wouldn't have necessarily been, you couldn't have reasonably expected him to come back and get the block. Maybe he could have come back and made the layup attempt more difficult. But no, he actually was to the spot before the offensive guy got there, and he blocked the shot. So very impressive. And if you take a look at the lack of success that LaMarcus Aldridge has had in this series with the Spurs, he hasn't been able to move Draymond not even 1 foot when he gets the ball in decent post position. More times than not, LaMarcus is taking contested fadeaway shots. And this is coming from a guy that's 6'11", 7 feet, that has a bevy of post moves. But he can't move Draymond because Draymond is so physically strong. So, again, all three candidates are worthy of the award, but I've got to go with Draymond because of his individual ability defensively, but he's also quarterbacking the whole defense. As Kev mentioned, his IQ is extremely high, and he's got the type of dog in him. He's got that will that will prevent easy layups at the basket. He's a guy that he can get in the passing lanes. He can ignite the fast break off of that. So I'll say Draymond Green just for his ability to be the quarterback and his ability to defend all 5 positions. He's had a wonderful year. I mean, and just on another note, defensive ability, I wasn't a big fan of those individuals that were high on Draymond, saying that he was a great overall basketball player and that he was the glue that kept the Warriors together. I just didn't see that. But watching over the past couple of years, his absence in Game 6 of last year's finals, and just his impact in terms of his ability to make plays with the ball in his hand, his passing ability, and, of course, his defensive ability, Draymond Green's value is extremely, extremely high. So to all those individuals that we ever got into arguments about Draymond Green's value and I downplayed it and I went hard on you, I apologize. I'm willing to admit that. Draymond Green is a phenomenal player.
Okay, I think you guys have really made a compelling case for Draymond Green and his Defensive Player of the Year. It's hard for me to even go with anything but Draymond, the Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm going to go different. But I'm going to first give Draymond his credit. He's one of my favorite players to watch when he's not kicking people in the groin area. I love his chippiness. I love his aggression. I love his emotion. I love his level of accountability and holding other people accountable. You need a guy in the locker room who will go to the best players on the team and hold them accountable as well. It takes a lot of pressure. I think this isn't stated enough how much pressure he takes off of those other guys, being the one that gets all the bulletin board material, the quotes. Generally, you have all these reporters standing around a Steph, a Clay, a Kevin Durant. But when you have a guy like Draymond Green on the team who always has bulletin board material, these reporters gravitate towards his locker. And it really takes some of that pressure off of those other guys, and he backs it up. He goes out there. He's not afraid to say, I don't like this other team. I want to see them lose. I'm going to get all in their jersey. I hope we play them. I hope they're mad. I don't like them either. I love that. I love that. That's missing in today's NBA. And he's a throwback in that sense. He does almost everything well.
So let me So let me ask you a question, Sean. So you love the fact that Draymond is really outspoken. He's willing to acknowledge chippiness and rivalries. You love it in Draymond, but you're not holding LeBron accountable for not saying that the Golden State Warriors are a rival. But you love it with Draymond. It's not even specific to that topic. I mean, he'll say, I don't like the Spurs. I want to see the Spurs lose. Like he generally doesn't like anybody who's on the opposing team.
But yeah, I agree with that. He has been very vocal about saying this is definitely a rivalry in my eyes. The way I see it, this is a rivalry. I think LeBron saying that, not only if he believes it, he believes it. I've made a case, why I think he doesn't believe that. But if he does, he's dismissive of Draymond Green. He's you know what? Whatever, man. You could dream about it all night if you want to and think of it as a rivalry, man. I'm chasing something bigger than what your mind is thinking about right now. I'm seeing past the Golden State Warriors. I'm chasing the ghost. You have fun with that. I mean, he's dismissive as a caliber of player he is. Right. But I really love Draymond's game. The reason that I'm going to give it to Kawhi Leonard, this is my reasoning. None of these other two players share the offensive load that Kawhi Leonard shares on the San Antonio Spurs. Draymond Green was vocal when KD got there. Look, I'm going to probably score less. I'm really just going to focus on trying to be the defensive player of the year. I'm going to focus on defense, rebounds, steals. Rudy Gobert, who obviously came in as a person who had great athletic defensive ability, who they see as someone who they'll use as a project and hope to polish his offensive game later down the road, like a Ben Wallace, like a DeAndre Jordan. But Kawhi Leonard, just said it, and I scoffed when I heard any of these comparisons to Kawhi Leonard to Michael Jordan. Popovich, they said, who does he remind you of? He said, Michael Jordan. I'm like, what?
Wow.
He's the finalist for MVP, and he's a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. It starts me thinking, what other players won Defensive Player of the Year and MVP? Michael Jordan. There's not a better two-way player in the league than Kawhi Leonard that is in the MVP category and Defensive Player of the Year category. He's responsible for taking it home offensively and guarding the best perimeter player on the other team. No, he cannot guard 5 positions like Draymond Green, but because of his offensive share and still being able to be this efficient and this great defensively, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard for Defensive Player of the Year.
I like it.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now moving on, we have new blood. Okay, these guys, they're in the category. We've heard Kawhi, we've heard Draymond for Defensive Player of the Year. Now we're going to get to a category where, you guys obviously being big on the collegiate game, seeing these guys develop and then come into the league. Sometimes it's a surprise, sometimes it's a shoe-in, but we're going to talk Rookie of the Year. Now, we have the 36th overall pick, a second-rounder in Malcolm Brogdon, averaged 10.2 a game, 4.2 assists a game. This guy, on the Bucks, again, a team with a young nucleus of really, really good players. This is a guy I saw bang on LeBron James this year. I think on consecutive plays, man. He's not scared of these legends in the game. He's coming for his mark to make his own mark. He was first in rookies in steals and assists. Now the next guy I'm going to bring up played about half the season, a little bit less than half the season, but a guy in Joel Embiid that, you talk about trusting the process. He's been often injured, but he averaged in that time span 20.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, and a lofty 2.5 blocks a game. Now, just to kind of put it in perspective, per 36 minutes, this guy is at 28.7 a game. As a rookie, second only. Now, this is esteemed company, second only to Wilt the Stilt at 29.2 a game per 36 minutes in the 59-60 season. So that's pretty impressive. But he did not play enough games to possibly qualify. However, the third candidate, Dario Saric from Philadelphia, his teammate, okay, this guy averaged 12.8 after Embiid went down, averaged 12.8 a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and he led rookies with games of 20 points, 10 rebounds. He had 5 of those type of games as a rookie, which is really, really hard to do in this league. Between Dario, Embiid, and Malcolm, Javon, I need you to weigh in on who do you think is the best rookie in the 2016-2017 NBA season?
Well, I'll tell you what, those are some really underwhelming numbers when you're talking about a rookie.
You made it good, man. I tried.
Year, you know,
I tried.
Listen. That was probably the most exciting I've ever heard someone be about 12.8 points a game. To no fault of your own. To no fault of your own. It's you know, if I'm more excited about you than I am, you know, the two of those rookies, I think there's a problem. I like Sarge. I like his game. I like Malcolm Brogdon. I knew when Brogdon was at Virginia, I think he was there for 4 years. That Virginia team was a team that got turned around defensively. Brogdon really was known for his defensive prowess, and offensively, his game started to develop throughout the course of his career at Virginia, and now it's translating well with the Milwaukee Bucks. So, nice player. Sarge, another player that's a nice player. I'm going to give him the Rookie of the Year, and I really don't even want to give the Rookie of the Year to him because technically it's his first season playing, but to me, and this is just the Javon Tavares clause, if you don't play in your rookie season, you lose out on an opportunity to be Rookie of the Year. Maybe we can give you Comeback Player of the Year. Maybe we can give you, six man. I don't know. Maybe we can give you some other award. We can second year rookies or something like that. But you can't be, in my book, the Rookie of the Year if you didn't play your first year. Whether it be,
are you telling me that red shirting should be preserved for college?
Absolutely. Maybe you could be the red shirt. You could be the red shirt Rookie of the Year. That's just my personal.
You get a red shirt as a professional, man.
Oh my gosh,
you know what? Hey.
Oh man.
Well, we need to come up with another name for that person that would win the award. Just my personal feelings. But Joel Embiid, out of all the three candidates that you mentioned, he is the best player. He's the most talented. He's a guy that had the biggest impact when he was out on the floor healthy. This is a guy who I saw go nose to nose with some of the best bigs in the game. I remember in particular a battle that he had here in Sacramento with DeMarcus Boogie Cousins, and he didn't back down not one bit. He didn't go for any of the roughhouse antics that DeMarcus was trying to apply out there on the floor, and he held his own. And he had a chance to hit a three-point shot to win the game for the Sixers. So I really like Joel Embiid's game. You can understand why trusting the process took off the way it did. Talented individual. Defensively, I think you mentioned 2.5 blocks a game. We're not even talking about his ability to post up. Here's a guy that can hit you with the left jump hook, right jump hook. He's got moves, counter moves.
He can shoot too.
Jump hook, and he can step out beyond the yard, and he can shoot three. Mm-hmm. So a really talented individual. Also rebounds the ball well. My red shirt Rookie of the Year is going to be Joel Embiid. I really love his game, and I hope this last knee injury that he had, I think it was just a cartilage tear, right? I hope this last knee injury he had doesn't sideline him or become anything more significant that's going to affect his future. I really want to see him out there in the future. I think he's probably the best young big man in the game, and I'm including Karl Anthony Towns in that as well.
Oh.
No way! Absolutely not!
Yeah, I thought that was pretty big. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is pretty talented. Now, I will say
what has Karl Anthony Towns done other than average 20 points on a team that had a couple other 20-point scorers, a couple young guys? His impact on the game is, he's just out there scoring meaningless points in some of these games.
I think you said the most important thing when you said he's out there.
He played 80 games.
Listen,
he's there.
We give him credit. We give him credit for being out there. Make no mistake. I like Karl Anthony Towns. I like his ability. But when I take a look at the ability to post up, okay, I think Joel Embiid has a better post game. when it comes to shooting ability. Karl Anthony Towns is the guy that's supposed to be able to shoot and do a little bit of everything, right?
Right.
He can. I like Joel Embiid's ability to shoot the ball as well. I think Joel Embiid is he blocks more shots, and I think he's a better rebounder. So
he definitely looks like he's had 2 years of practice without anybody guarding him. Now, Kevin, same question. We have Malcolm Brogdon, Joel Embiid, and Dario Saric. I tried to make this entertaining. This isn't the best rookie class we've ever seen. One guy who's not even really a rookie. But just to quickly weigh in, who do you think is the most deserving out of these three players?
Guys, I think in professional sports, when guys are getting paid, we don't need to give out awards every single year if we don't have any qualified candidates. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think these three are qualified. Look, Malcolm Brogdon, a nice, young, sturdy, 6'4", undersized 2-guard. I think he's playing the point. Tremendous defensively. I like his base. I didn't think he would be able to get his shot off in the pros, but he's been able to get his shot off. Well, I like him, coming off the bench. Obviously, Joel Embiid, he missed the first 2 years of his career, right? 2 or 3 years of his career. He missed.
He's Greg Oden.
2 years. It was 2 years. No, he's already played more effectively than Greg Oden has ever played.
He has, but I would give it to Joel Embiid. If you're gonna hold me to it, obviously he has a bright future if he can keep those legs healthy. That's the key. I don't think, and to piggyback off of Javon, I don't think Joel Embiid has a better post game than Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think he's much better. I don't even know if he's better defensively than Karl Anthony Towns. And I think Karl Anthony Towns shoots the basketball tremendously better than a Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid can stay healthy, then maybe we can see this thing play out in the long haul. Right. But I'm willing to bet. I don't know if Joel Embiid can stay healthy for us to be able to see that clash. I've put Karl Anthony Towns in the category with Anthony Davis in the next 3 years. Watch out for that. Watch that. But I would give it to Joel Embiid.
He should be coming into his own around that time. So,
right.
Yeah, I think the Anthony Davis comparison is a little bit of a stretch just because of Anthony Davis's ability to put the ball on the floor and his jump shot. In addition to being able to post up, and I think he's a little bit more athletic. He covers a little bit more ground and has better lateral quickness and speed than Karl Anthony Towns. But I think we have a crop of really good young centers, as provided that they stay healthy.
Hey, you know what? Before you go,
I'm gonna go with it.
A round of applause for that too, because for the last 5 or 6 years, the center position has just been absolutely wiped out. So I'm glad that we do have a lot of big bodies who are very, very effective, young big bodies that have a lot of ability. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in the future in the NBA, because I love the big center. I love the dominant center. I always have. So I'm glad that we're going to be seeing that here in the next couple of years going forward.
I'm going to agree with you guys that Joel Embiid is the quote-unquote rookie of the year. And for me, it's just the eye test. His impact on his team when he was on the floor, I want to say Philadelphia had like a 7-game win streak. And I remember hearing that. I was like, they won 7 straight games? Like, are you serious? And it just makes me think, when Ben Simmons gets there with some of those players, if they can be healthy, we might be talking about them like we're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. Talking about a young nucleus of very talented players. Ben Simmons is the truth. Simmons is the truth. Yeah. He's going to get these guys in the position that they need to be, running up and down the floor, leading guys on the break. There's going to be some exciting ball in Philadelphia. And mark my word when I say that. Moving on, we just talked about some great young coaches. Now we're going to move on to the coach of the year, the best of the best coaches in this particular year. We have some familiar names, some people that have won the award before, all of which I think have won the award before, in D'Antoni, Pop, and Spo. when you can call them just by those names, that they've earned their reputation in the league. Spo obviously coming from being a video coordinator with the Miami Heat, ascending to a coach position. At one point, kind of just looked at as a pawn of Riley's. I think we've really got to see over the years his X's and O's. He's able to go up against the best in the game. One of the most impressive things for Spoelstra this year, obviously, the team got off to a very underwhelming start. They start off 11-30. They get back to 41-41 by going 30-11 on the back half of the season.
Wow.
The biggest under 500 margin to ever get back to 500 in NBA history. The previous record was 12. 7 wins more than that obliterates that in the NBA. You talk about gaining 7 more wins. And the only team in the league this year to have a double-digit win streak with no All-Stars. Okay? No All-Stars. Just playing hard. He had those guys playing inspired ball. He really reinvigorated Dion Waiters at one point, where Dion Waiters started playing way better ball after kind of falling off the map, falling out of favor, and losing minutes. Second, we have a guy who year in, year out, he really could make a case for, and that's Greg Popovich. Another 60-win season. He's the Bill Belichick of this sport. And, 20th straight playoffs, matching the great Phil Jackson as the only person with 26 straight off teams. So, and then last but not least, we have Mike D'Antoni. Again, this is a regular season award, fellas, but D'Antoni, third best team in the league statistically. They set a record for three-pointers. They're at 115 points a game. It got them an MVP candidate. It had Eric Gordon in contention and Lou Williams for Sixth Man of the Year. He obviously is accustomed to having prolific offensive teams that don't generally get to where they want to get in the playoffs. Judging on regular season, their coaching job on the teams that they had, D'Antoni, Pop, or Spo, Javon, tell me what you're thinking.
I would never pick Mike D'Antoni as coach of the year when you have Greg Popovich and you have a guy like Eric Spoelstra. Listen, quite simply, I think you did a great job of illustrating that Greg Popovich could really get the award every year. I think coaching a talented team the way he's been coached, I think they're 50 wins in 20 plus years or something like that. That's ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense.
Good.
It doesn't make any sense.
And he does that by resting players, his star players. He rests those guys and he's still winning.
and he's still winning. And just take a look at the impact that he's had on guys like Jonathan Simmons this postseason. Okay, getting some big minutes from Kyle Anderson and DeJounte Murray. Now, these guys aren't setting the world on fire, minus Simmons. Simmons. I really like the way Jonathan Simmons has been playing. But Popovich is just a great coach. There's no way around it. But quite simply, this year, Eric Spoelstra is your coach of the year. Absolutely incredible. As you mentioned, very underwhelming start. And then they finished 38-11. The Miami Heat were a team that honestly had a chance to make the playoffs, but they were a team that I look forward to playing as a Kings fan. I look forward to playing that team thinking it was going to be an easy victory. And then the way that Spoelstra was able to get these guys to start believing, and Spoelstra, another guy that I underrated. I thought that he had LeBron, he had Bosh. Sean, you remember these conversations that we had, and to your credit, you said a while ago, hey, you know what? I think Spoelstra is more than just a puppet of the great Pat Riley. He's more than just a product of having LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. And I think this season illustrates that perfectly. What more can you say? I mean, it truly was almost a miraculous season. Finished 38-11. with that roster, I mean, guys like Tyler Johnson, you know, now we all love, you know, Dragic. You know, I love his game, but Dion Waiters is a guy that bounced around from OKC to Miami. You know, so yeah, this is a team
does he get any credit for the development of a D-League player in Hassan Whiteside's ascension?
Absolutely.
I think he definitely gets some credit for that. Hassan Whiteside, for those of us that are Kings fan, that Wingstop is over there looking tough.
Man, I'm telling you, man.
Is that a Wingstop cup?
Yes, sir. Got filled up right before the show, man.
But yeah, I think he does get some credit. For those of us that have been Sacramento Kings fans, we saw that Hassan Whiteside had a little bit of potential in the limited minutes that he got. Did any of us think that he would ever turn out to be what he actually is in Miami? No, I know I didn't. So you have to give Spoelstra credit for that development. So easy pick in my book, Eric Spoelstra.
Okay, so we have Eric Spoelstra as Javon Tavares' pick for Coach of the Year. Kevin, I know you love Pop. I know you're not too hot on D'Antoni. I don't know where you stand with Spoelstra. Tell me who's the Coach of the Year this year.
Eric Spoelstra is the Coach of the Year. Remember, they had a tumultuous offseason. They slow played Dwayne Wade because Pat Riley didn't want to re-sign Dwayne Wade. And you're talking about Mr. 305, where the fan base was not very happy with Pat Riley or Spo. And they let a guy like Dwayne Wade, a folk hero, go. You had the Chris Bosh situation where his career ended under their watch. There was a lot of pressure from Chris Bosh's camp, his own private doctors, trying to put pressure on Spo and Pat Riley to let him suit up and get out there and play. He wanted to sign a waiver. So they had a tumultuous offseason. They were able to re-sign Whiteside, but they had to give him too much money. They struck out.
Well, not when Matthew Dellavedova received the $40 million contract.
That's a great point.
Listen.
That's a great point. But they struck out on the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. There was a lot of chatter, coming from Pat Riley, and I don't know if it was a book or some interview, him bad-talking King James. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was going on in the offseason, and then they start the season the way that they did. This guy kept it together, man. He coached his butt off. They went 38-11, and they were right there in playoff positioning. Remember, it was New Jersey who sat all of their players, their top 8 guys. They sat them in that contest with Chicago, and Chicago gets the 8 seed instead of Miami. If Miami gets the 8 seed, then Boston is not in this Eastern Conference Finals today. Miami would have beaten them in that series. But ifs. I always talk about that. I don't like to play the if game. But just to strengthen the cause or the case for Eric Spoelstra, man, he did a tremendous job. He rallied the troops. They send Dwayne Wade over to Chicago, and that hurt Spoelstra too because that was like a son to him. Him and Dwayne Wade, they were there during their first championship run. They were there together. Obviously, Spoelstra was an assistant, but they were there together. I mean, so he's been there ever since Dwayne Wade's career started in Miami. And to see that man, leave the organization, I know that hurt Spo a lot. I know he wanted to sign him there. I know he wanted to keep him. But, you have to coincide with what the boss wants to do, and he slow played him with that contract. But you give it to Eric Spoelstra. And, fellas, we're already an hour in. We gotta wrap this thing up. But, Sean, before you take us home, we're going to do the MVP.
Yeah, real quick.
Okay.
I got Spoelstra as well. Great job there. MVP. Obviously, this is a pretty tightly contested one this year with 2 guys really having breakout seasons, historic seasons. Russ, obviously, breaking the triple-double record. Not only having a triple-double, but the most triple-doubles in a single season at 31 points, 10.7 rebounds, 10.4 assists. And his team was 33-9 when he got those triple-doubles, which is huge. And then Harden, obviously, first player with 2,000 points and 2,000 assists in the season. Guy averaged 29, 8, and 11. Had the most total assists in the league. And then you got Kawhi Leonard, who quietly 25, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, best record and player efficiency rating in head-to-head matchups against those MVP candidates, which is huge. I need to know, I'm going to start with you, Kevin. We talked about this before. I need to know, has your choice changed, or is Russ still the MVP?
Yeah, Russ is the MVP. Remember, KD left him for dead on July 4th. We were about to start the barbecue pits. The fireworks came early that day. He left him high and dry, gave him no warning. He gave that franchise absolutely no warning whatsoever. As soon as he made the decision to go to Golden State, all of us said OKC will win 20 to 25 games. And that would be it. And what does Russell Westbrook do? He gets the number 6 seed in the West. Averaged a triple-double with an unbalanced roster. They have a whole bunch of big guys that can score. They have no one on the perimeter that can spread the floor. So Russell Westbrook did this the hard way. Triple-double. He is your MVP. It should be close to unanimous. I know there's a lot of James Harden guys out there, but we expected the Rockets to make the playoffs. We thought OKC was going to be a lottery team. And the reason they weren't was because Russell Westbrook, not only that, but he had to put up with the fact that a good friend of his, and Kevin Durant, left him high and dry, left him for dead. And so did NBA fans all across the world, media types. We all left Russell Westbrook for dead. We left OKC for dead. They're going to win 20 games. They're going to be in the lottery. Hey, they have a chance to add a big-time player, coming out of college this year. Maybe they have a chance to add a Marquez Fultz to slide over to the 2 position, or maybe Alonzo Ball, maybe slide Westbrook, whatever the case may be. That's what we were talking about. They're going to be in the lottery, and they made the 6th seed in the West.
Okay. I mean, it's really hard to go against a historic season on any level. Hard to understate, even impossible to overstate how great of an achievement this was. I know you're fond of Russ. I know you're an OKC fan. Is Russ still the MVP?
Unequivocally, Russell Westbrook is your MVP. 2 words: triple-double. For all the things that Kevin said in terms of Kevin Durant leaving that organization for dead. I don't know if he left the organization for dead, but I know he left the organization to move on to greener pastures in Oakland. I know Russell Westbrook exudes the type of competitiveness that resonates with me, but I keep coming back to the postseason, and I know this is a regular season award, but I think it gives us some perspective for just how valuable Russell Westbrook was. We saw him against a team in the Houston Rockets that was a team put together with a head coach and a roster that suits James Harden's game. Russell Westbrook did everything humanly possible to help win that series, and he did what some of us considered unthinkable. He ran out of gas. He's human. But in the process, what it did was it really exposed just how valuable he was to that OKC roster. So, and we all know that Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook had a personal friendship, and, they regardless of what KD thinks, I thought they played well. They had a good chemistry together on the court. So Russell Westbrook came into his own this season with guys on the roster like Enes Kanter. Here's a guy that's better at defending himself from some of the opposing factions in Turkey than he is an actual NBA defender. Okay, Victor Oladipo, a guy that was supposed to be a great defender with a burgeoning offensive game. We didn't see much of that this season, and he wasn't even as great a defender as he was advertised. Steven Adams, a guy that got a big contract after a great postseason last year. He was virtually nowhere to be found, and the most famous thing that we can remember Steven Adams for was getting kicked in the package by Draymond Green. That was the last significant thing that Steven Adams did.
That's your defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
So Russell Westbrook is your MVP, and that's with all due respect to Kawhi Leonard. I love Kawhi Leonard. I think he may be the second or third best player in the world. But this year's MVP is Russell Westbrook, who truly had a historic year, as well as James Harden. So we got to give James Harden his credit as well. But Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double. He's your MVP.
I'm giving James Russell Westbrook the MVP as well. I don't want James Harden anywhere near this list. I don't want him. I don't know James Harden. I don't care if I'm not supposed to count the postseason. You know what? This is this statement for James Harden. Okay? It's my James Harden statement, okay? I don't want James Harden anywhere near this award, okay? So, it's Russell Westbrook by a landslide. I think you can obviously make a case for Kawhi. Interesting note. First time LeBron out of the top three in MVP voting since 2008. Okay? Now,
right.
real quick, we don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to go over all the NBA teams, first team, second team, third team. However, some noticeable snubs, or depending on how you look at it, snubs. Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Marcus Cousins, Lillard, Gordon Hayward. Two guys affected significantly financially. Gordon Hayward and Paul George missing out on the designated player veteran decision where they could have made about $200 million contracts. So two guys adversely affected, but you could have made, with all the talent in the league, I don't want DeAndre Jordan on any of these teams. I'll be honest with you. He's completely lost my respect as a player, and I'd rather just see him on State Farm commercials. Real quick,
had a good year this year, man.
Yeah. We don't have enough time for me to get into that. The conference finals, I think it's the foregone conclusion. Cleveland should go up 3-0 tonight. Golden State went up 3-0 yesterday. Obviously, looks like we have a collision course there. I feel bad for both Kawhi Leonard and Isaiah Thomas sustaining injuries that are going to keep them out of the playoffs and really ultimately affecting their team's ability to fend off these juggernauts that are the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be honest with you, all off the bench fans. I had a very compelling on the bench ready for you today. It had to do with LeVar Ball again. But you know what? As I was sitting here thinking, and I was sitting here going through these conversations, talking about the conference finals, I couldn't help think about the disdain and the fire in my belly that I feel for none other than one ZaZa Pachulia.
Oh, man.
You know what, ZaZa? Dirty player. You don't ever hear Greg Popovich come out and call a player dirty.
Never.
He's played a lot of basketball. It takes a real jerk to get under the skin of Popovich to where he's going to make it a statement talking about not only you being cheap now, but your history of faulty plays in this league. He said, you know what, ask David West about it. Why don't you ask his teammate how he feels about him? Why don't you ask some of the other guys in the league about some of these plays that he's made in Atlanta, that he's made on Milwaukee? This guy has been a marginal, dirty player. I don't want to hear scrappy. I want to hear dirty. I don't want to hear scrappy means that you play by the rules, but you kind of live on the edge, you know, maybe get a technical foul here and there, but you're not. But what you're not doing, Patrick Beverly, he may injure Westbrook, not because he tried to, because he's playing out hard out there. But when you see your team, the vaunted 67-win juggernaut with 4 All-Stars that's supposed to come in here and just take it to the San Antonio Spurs, and Popovich says, guess what? Not on my watch, because guess what? I put together some X's and O's. You want me to show you what that looks like? X's and O's. Okay? And I don't mean hugs and kisses. I mean a game plan that was foolproof with the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year and MVP candidate primed to make it as tough as possible for an almost impossible task where you had to play close to perfect basketball, and they come in, and it's quiet as a church house mouse in Oakland. I don't think it's been that quiet since the Black Panther Party was running the streets. I'll tell you what, I have a big problem with ZaZa Pachulia taking a 2-step directive, putting his foot up under him, and hurting Kawhi Leonard's chances to have an upset. I never count Popovich out. I never count Belichick out. I don't count them out until they're out. And they're going to grit and grind, and they're going to have your players like you mentioned stepping up. But you know what? You put them in a really bad position. You hurt their chances. You never hear Greg Popovich concede to the fact that this affected us to the point that we might not be able to win. He knows Aldridge doesn't have that kind of heart. He knows that Paul Gasol's best days were behind him as soon as he left the Lakers, not going to the Barclays Center. He knows. He knows. And you know what? The rest of us know. The sports fans know, America knows, and you know what? I hope your native countrymen know back in your town, ZaZa Pachulia, that you're a dirty player, you have no place in the league, and guess what? Karma came in the form of a heel contusion the next game. That's today's show. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all of the positive feedback we're receiving. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook, on our page, Off the Bench. The great analysis that you received today from Javon Tavares and Kevin Cornegay is not an aberration. We're here week in, week out, and this is what you're going to continue to get. Thank you, guys. Have a blessed day and have a blessed week.